In this episode, I want to talk about the genitive case, or start talking about it because it's a very large case and it's very commonly used and there's lots of different ways it's used. So there'll be a different episode on just the prepositions that require the genitive case. So for now, let's just look at our nouns and see how they decline. It looks complicated, and it sort of is, but there are general rules that are followed. And let's try and figure out what those rules are and decipher the patterns. When we're talking about the singular, genitive singular, masculine and neuter nouns are going to end in a or ya, and those are going to be very common endings. A is on any masculine noun that ends on a consonant, you're going to add an a. And any neuter noun that ends in o, that's going to turn into an a. And then ya replaces anything that ends in ya, any neuter noun that ends in ya, any masculine noun that ends in a soft sign, and any masculine noun that ends in a ikratki. Right, so we can see that. So we've got our ya go to ya and ya. Our masculine ending with a consonant, it gains an a. Our tramvai, right, because it ends in a ikratki, ya, soft sign, ya. Our o goes to a, right, so that's very common. And then feminine nouns are going to take e or e, and masculine nouns that have feminine endings, like a, are also going to take e or e, depending on the spelling rules. So, for example, diadushka ends in an a, and it takes e because of the k, right? We have to make sure that we always follow the spelling rules. So, gazeta takes e, nedelya takes e, right? So all these ya go to e, and then this soft sign also goes to e. So anything that was soft to begin with is going to be e. Okay, so that's not too bad. And then now let's look at our plural endings. Lots of nouns are going to end in this ye. We have any noun that ends in a soft sign, pisatil or ploshad, it's going to take ye. So pisatelye, ploshadye, and also any nouns that end in zh, ch, sh, or ch are going to take ye. I don't think we have any examples of those up. Neuter nouns ending in ya, like moria, are also going to take ye. Okay, and then most masculine nouns are going to take of or yiv if it's not, ending in a soft sign or one of the ones that we just talked about. So of or yiv. So stalov, tramvayev, muziev, right? And that's just following the spelling rules and whether it ended in a soft or hard sound. And then we've got our nouns that end in iya or iya. They get i kratki. So, right, we had iya over here. So upражнение, familia, right? So family. And then all nouns ending in a or o, regardless of whether they're feminine, masculine, or neuter, right? Just all nouns ending in a or o are going to have what's called a zero ending, and that's where they just drop that a or o. So diolo goes to dil, gazeta goes to gazet, nedelya goes to nedel, and it keeps the sound of that soft ending, but it replaces it with a soft sign. Diadushka goes to diadushek, right? So these are all zero ending. And lots of times you'll have a vowel pop up in the middle of a cluster of consonants when you have a zero ending. So, and then Emia is a little bit irregular, so I included it. And it's also the same as Vremia. Time is also irregular like that. So now let's look at how our adjectives decline. It's pretty straightforward. We're familiar with these endings. The pronouns, on the other hand, are a little bit different. Basically, when you're talking about Yevo, this means his. So like Yevo sistra, so his sister. Or Yeyo is her sister, Yeyo sistra. If you're talking about possession, which is a common use of the genitive case, this is he has, and we now have this N. U njevo, u njejo, and this would be she has. So those are the only things to remember, the only little tricks. And then again, ich, our they, is going to coincide with our endings of ruskich and хороших. So if you remember one, you remember the other. Okay, so when do we use the genitive case? We use it all the time, right? We use the genitive case when we have a direct object in the accusative case, and that object is animate, right? If it's a masculine animate noun, it is in the genitive case. So we're a little bit familiar with it already. And then we also, let's see, uses of the genitive case. Number one use, very common use, to show ownership. Meaning anytime you'd use parentheses or apostrophe s in English, or to say of. And you're going to see this of in lots of different settings that we use the genitive case. And so when you think of, think of the genitive case. So we've got, for example, the professor's briefcase, portfel profesora. So this genitive singular ending tells us it's the professor's briefcase. So here's our apostrophe s. Or you could say the briefcase of the professor. Машина родителей, the parents' car. So again, there's our apostrophe s. So anytime you're showing possession, Dom Ivana, Ivan's house. Okay, and then anytime you're saying of, or most times when you're saying of, so we've got the laughter of children, смех детей. So laughter of children. Or what I'm doing right now. Объяснение учителя. So the explanation of the teacher. Right? So anytime you have of or this apostrophe s, you're going to use the genitive case. And then the other or another common and somewhat varied use is expressing quantity or measure. So this, we're going to use the genitive case to express quantity and measure. So we're going to use it to look at or to express parts of a whole. And again, there's our secret word of. So we've got an album of photographs. Album, fotografii, right? So an album of photographs, parts of a whole. The photographs are parts of the whole album. Ruchka чемодана. So the handle of the suitcase. The handle is just one part of the suitcase. Or if we have our cute little house, and this part that keeps the rain and snow off of our heads is a part of the whole. It's the крыша дома. So the roof of the house. Or if we had a juicy apple and we're friendly, and so we share it and we cut it in half. This is половина, half. Яблоко, half of an apple. So anytime you're expressing parts of a whole, you're going to use the genitive case. Also, if you're talking about an amount of something, you'll use the genitive case. So words like бутылка or стакан, so a bottle or a glass of something, of воды, of water. Or if you have a liter of something, молока, or a kilogram, яблок, right? So all of these involve the genitive case. We have a kilogram of apples and we have the zero ending. We have a liter of milk, genitive singular, a bottle or a glass of water, so genitive singular. We also use the genitive case with words that denote a relative quantity, such as немного, мало, много, сколько, несколько, or столько. So after these words, these sort of number words, or a relative quantity, we're going to use the genitive case. And we're going to use the genitive plural if the objects can be counted. And we will use the genitive singular if substance cannot be counted, and for abstract nouns. All right, and this is, you'll see this in English too. Genitive plural, right? If the object can be counted. So we could have несколько apples, яблок, right? They can be counted. We can count up each apple. We have 1, 2, 3. We can count up our apples, and so we put it in the genitive plural. Or if we're saying, oh my goodness, how many children? Столько детей. We can count up each one of those kids, right? So it's genitive plural. And that's true in English. You would say so many children, but you wouldn't say so many soup, right? So in Russian, soup is something that we can't count. It's a substance that cannot be counted in English or in Russian. So you can say a lot of soup, you can say много супа, right? And so that's in the genitive singular. Or if it's an abstract noun, stолько шум, like how much noise, right? So with the same idea, let's the word for people is a little bit particular. So we've got a person, right? So человек. So after the word сколько and несколько, you use the word человек. And after the words много and мало, use людей. So, for example, if we had a conversation, you went somewhere and I was curious, how many people were there? So I would ask, сколько там было человек? Right? So сколько, so I use человек. And then you answer, там было много людей. There were a lot of people there. So много людей. So just remember that. Okay, so still talking about measure and quantity. Another form is when we're saying some. So it's a partitive meaning, and we're going to use the genitive case. So for example, can you please give me some bread? Дай, пожалуйста, хлеба. Right? So because we've put it in the genitive case, it now means some bread. Not just give me all of the bread, but give me some bread. Or она выпила вина. So she drank some wine because it's in that genitive case. And there are some masculine nouns that have a different partitive ending. In addition to their regular genitive endings, right? So only when you're saying some of these certain masculine nouns, you're going to use an u or u ending. So I'll give you a few examples, and there are more, but again, you'll start to just hear them. So let's look. We've got, so soup is one of these, and like I said, it has the genitive ending of supa, right? But this partitive ending is supu, and the u or u is always the accented sound. Okay, so another is sir, sira. This is the normal genitive, and this is the partitive genitive. So when you want to say some some cheese, you say siru, right? So some cheese. Chai, regular ending chaya. Чаю is the partitive. So if вы хотите чашка чаю, чашка чаю. Would you like some tea? And I use this example because you use the partitive ending not only when you mean some, but after these certain words that specify a specific amount, right, or a specific quantity, like чашка, right, a cup, or бутылка, коньяку. So this is another masculine noun with a special partitive ending. So after butilka, butilka, tarelka, tarelka, supu, right? That special ending. Also after pachka, a packet, sacharu, sugar is another with a special partitive ending, pachka, sacharu. Okay, so throw all of that out the window if you're modifying a noun with an adjective. To then just forget about it. Then the normal genitive singular is used. But if you aren't using an adjective, then these specific masculine nouns are going to have their own special ending when you're talking about some. All right, let's move on. We also use the genitive case for measure and quantity when with specific words that denote a set of objects or persons. And again, think of. So, bukет цветов, a bouquet of flowers, right? So bouquet of, or para перчаток, a pair of gloves. So it's the same in English. Whenever we have these set words, bouquet, pair, группа, мужчин, группа мужчин, right, a group of men, and after the word for team, команда, футболистов, a team of footballers, meaning soccer players. Okay, so as you can see, we use the genitive case frequently when we're talking about quantity or measurements. We also use the genitive case for certain dates. Specifically when we give an exact date with month or year, or also year. And it answers, we use the genitive case when we're answering когда. So, for example, когда вы уезжаете? Мы уезжаем 5 августа. Right? So, 5 августа. Both the number, the date, and the month are in the genitive case. And if we asked, когда вы возвращаетесь? When are you returning? Мы возвращаемся 27 мая. So again, it all gets put in the genitive case. Or if we were saying, я, когда вы родилась? Вы родились, right? I would answer, я родилась 19 марта. So those are both 12th and March are put in the genitive case. 1982 года. So in this case we have the date, the month, and the final digit of the year, and the word year, all are in the genitive case. We use the genitive case, this is a big one, with negation or with negatives. we use the genitive case when we're saying there isn't any blah blah blah. There isn't any whatever. Or there wasn't. So we use it after нет, не было, and не будет. Right? So there's, if I said у меня нет брата, so I don't have a brother, or у меня нет машины, I don't have a car. Or we also, when we're talking about things that weren't in the past, вчера не было дождя. Right? So there wasn't any rain yesterday. А завтра не будет. Right? In the future, дождя. So this is really common. And then another use of the genitive case are for comparing. So with comparisons. And you can also compare by using the word чем, in which case you would not use the genitive case. But if you don't use the word чем, you use the genitive case. So let's say we've got a guy and he's got an adorable, plump little brother in a diaper. So his name is Andre, and his little brother is Ivan. So if we wanted to compare these two guys, we could say Andre старше Ивана. So Andre is older than Ivan. Or Ivan младше Andrea. Right? So Ivan is younger than Andre. Or if we had a cat and a dog and we were comparing them, we could say это собака больше кошки. Right? So the dog is bigger than the cat. So you use the genitive case when you're making comparisons. And there are a number of verbs that require the genitive case, and there are other situations that require the genitive case, but I'm not going to get into them because it just kind of complicates everything, and you'll come across them, you know, maybe in a couple years or slowly, and just when you learn that verb, you'll just memorize that it comes with the genitive case or that it requires the genitive case. And then the topic of prepositions is also a pretty big one, so I'll save that for a separate episode to talk about which prepositions require the genitive case. So for now, hopefully you're more familiar with when you would use the genitive case. If you were making a comparison, if you were making a comment about a lack of something, if you were giving a specific date with a date, month, and year. And then all of these instances when you're talking about measure and quantity. And right, including these specific guys, these words that denote a relative quantity. And whenever you're talking about possession or ownership, anytime you would use apostrophe S in English, and then countless times when you would use the word of in English. So if you hear the word of in your head, think, okay, I might be using the genitive case here. So